Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Dad is in Control podcast. My name is Brian, and I am the founder of Dad is in Control. So I'm back, fresh from a week out in the west coast of Canada, enjoying Alberta and British Columbia in a big RV with the family. Got to see one of my friends get married, got to, visit in the Rocky Mountains, got to take in some sights and sounds, loved it. So, with that being said, I had a lot of time to really think and reflect on different concepts and different things that are going on in my life, and I came up with a few things. So hopefully you guys can take something away from this conversation that I'm going to have with you. So I think first and foremost, that we've talked about in the group ad nauseum, but we've talked about also a little bit on the podcast, is I talk to myself. We all talk to ourselves. And if you say you don't talk to yourself, you're lying. Fact of the matter is, each of us have between 50,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day. Now, these thoughts are about everything. Most of them are in your subconscious and you don't even know they exist. But each of these thoughts can be affected by the way that you talk to yourself. For example, if you are exceptionally hard on yourself because you didn't go to the gym this morning and you feel awful and you're telling yourself that you're a fat piece of shit and you are mentally, verbally abusing yourself. Well, these thoughts, these negative portrayals of yourself actually spin off into each of these other 50 to 80,000 thoughts that you have. These negative thoughts that you put out there taint your views on other people. They taint your thoughts. They affect the way that you put yourself out there. They affect the way that you govern yourself. They affect the way that you carry yourself. They affect everything, your confidence levels, your certainties. They affect everything. So it's extremely important to gain control of these thoughts, these ways that you talk to yourself. If you're on the golf course and you make a bad shot, you got to take a second to control your urges, to control the way that you're thinking, to control you. Another great way to do this is by starting out the day with this, by having a mantra, or as other people call it, consciously creating yourself. And that's starting by reading something off. I read something off to myself every morning, that to the effect of, I'm a strong human being, and it just puts yourself in the right frame of mind. It's talking to yourself the way that you want to be seen. So if you're a new business owner, you talk to yourself like, I'm a great entrepreneur, I have full control of this, and you put yourself out there like that. And by doing this every day, by starting your day with this, it really helps to get your mindset in check, to put yourself in the right frame of mind and help you control what you're saying to yourself throughout the day. The next thought I have about this is we're also very tightly wound. It seems like, in the analogy of driving, it seems like we're holding the steering wheel white-knuckled. And as we're doing this, as our grip is so tight, it's exhausting. Imagine driving on a 5-hour road trip, white-knuckling the steering wheel the whole way. Well, it seems like that's what we're doing throughout our life. That seems like with our kids, with ourselves, with our career, with our finances, it seems like we're holding the steering wheel full on in a white-knuckle manner, and we're not willing to loosen up our grip a little bit. You see, what happens is when we ease up and we relax a little bit, our muscles don't fatigue so much, and we can last longer. And in life, who doesn't want to be less exhausted? Who doesn't want to be less on edge? So this is kind of for all those helicopter parents out there who have to monitor their kids 24/7, who are always exhausted and overstressed because their kids are over here and their kids are over here and their kids are over here. Loosen your grip a little bit. By helicopter parenting, by monitoring 100% of the things that your kids do always, you're going to create little anxiety cases. This is going to affect their behavior in the long term. I'm not saying to completely ignore your kids by any means. I'm just saying give them some space. And in the realm of yourself, go easy on yourself. loosen your grip on yourself a little bit. You don't have to be so wound up all the time. And if you are wound up, you need to find some activities to help you de-stress yourself, to help you unwind. Whether it's fishing, shooting guns, shooting golf balls, playing baseball, whatever it is, find a way to loosen yourself up so that you're not constantly white-knuckling and you're not exhausting yourself. And actually, the last thing that I wanted to talk about came from another podcast. I didn't create this, but I really, really liked the way that they explained it. So I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. I'm going to kind of share the idea. And in life, it seems like we're always worried about making the big changes. We're always worrying about huge corrections. Whether it's weight loss, we start this crash diet, or whether it's, financial or marital or relationally with ourselves or spiritually or whatever it is. It seems like it's all or nothing with us, with everybody. And in the podcast, they explain this as an aircraft carrier corrects 3 degrees at a time. Because if you correct 30 degrees or more, it means you really fucked up about 5 miles back. And that's great. I love that analogy, because in life what we should be doing is focusing on little corrections, a little bit at a time, rather than making a 30-degree change, because chances are, if you're making a huge, drastic life change, it's not going to stick. The huge changes typically don't last because they're too drastic, they're too major. If you're going to change your diet and you decide to drop everything out of your diet that you have come to love, that you've come to eat all of the time, chances are you're going to binge, you're going to crash out of your diet, or financially, or whatever. So the best course of action is to change 3% at a time, because that 3%, whether it's in your diet and you're just dropping soda, or you're dropping sugar, or you're dropping this. If you're dropping one small component at a time, it's not so hard. It becomes sustainable and manageable. So I like that analogy. I really have come to embrace that. And I suppose last but not least, after sitting in a tin can with my family for a week and driving all over the Rocky Mountains in the terrain, all mountainous, I learned about the importance of communicating your needs clearly and concisely. So let me tell you a story. Last week I was backing the RV out of a very tight area that we parked. And I was a little bit overwhelmed because we have this, 25 to 30 foot RV in a very, very narrow corridor, and an RV doesn't belong to me and I didn't want to damage it. So I look over at my wife and I said, honey, I may need some help with this. She said, okay, no problem. And I start to back out. And I look over at her and I said, how am I going to do this? In my eyes, I was asking for help. I was looking at her and saying, hey, I need you. Pay attention to me. But she didn't get that message. Why? Because I didn't communicate exactly what I wanted. I didn't say, hey, please help me. Could you get out of the car and let me know how close to that tree I am and how close to that rock I am? And make sure that when I'm looking at my front end, the rear of the vehicle isn't going to hit anything. I didn't say that. And I got frustrated. I got triggered because, she couldn't read my mind. After I got done backing out, I looked at her with this look and she looked back at me and she's like, what? I said, I really needed your help there. She said, well, you should have asked for it. And then we had the conversation. I thought I did, but in hindsight, I didn't. I didn't clearly ask for her help, and that was on me. So guys, the last point to this is when you need something, make sure that you clearly communicate your needs. If you have a headache and you need quiet, then you need to clearly tell your wife or your partner or your kids, hey, I have a headache. I need to lay down in some quiet, please. Or if you're backing out a big RV out of a very tight parking spot, hey, honey, could you please get out of the car and help me back out so I don't hit anything? You need to clearly communicate exactly what is going on, because our partners don't have crystal balls and they definitely can't read our minds. So that basically summarizes my week. I mean, we had a lot of fun and we did a lot of things, but I had a lot of time to think, and these are some of the key points that I was mulling over in my head over the past week. And I know I breezed through them very quickly, but these are concepts that I'm working on and that we're going to be talking about in the Facebook group. So if you're a guy and you want to continue this conversation, head on over to dadasincontrol.com and click the button to join our free Facebook group. It's that easy. Carry on the conversation with us. Join us. Join a bunch of like-minded individuals that want to learn and share experiences. Also, guys, if you're listening to this and you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast and head on over to iTunes and rate and review it for us. It goes a long way to exposure for us in getting our message out there to other like-minded men. And last but not least, men. We've all at some point in our life or another experienced tough times. We've experienced times of complacency, times that we're coasting through life, times that things are going good, but they just could be going better. Or maybe you're at rock bottom and you don't know where to start. Maybe you want to make changes and you just don't know how. We all have been there. If you're looking for help, if you're looking for someone to show you the way, head on over to dadasincontrol.com/start. Fill out the application. Let's have a phone call so we can discuss possible ways that I can help you. And that's it, guys. That's today's episode. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.